What's going on, gamers? What's going on, world? So, Moon Studios CEO describes Dragon Age the Veilguard writing as infantile and terrible, which I think is hilarious because it's very true. I would say not only that, but the people leading there are also very immature. So, we're going to go down into this and then we're going to discuss, how this is an amazing uh, way of being professionally critical as somebody who's a CEO of a company that made good games. Let's go over to Moon Studios, Thomas Mahler right here. If y'all don't know, these are the individuals who did Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and Will of the Wisps, and they're now working on No Rest for the Wicket, which actually looks amazing. I loved both Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and Will of the Wisps. I beat both on my Xbox. Great games, and I'm looking forward to No Rest for the Wicket. Looks like they're taking another jump for that. So Thomas Mahler's a cool guy. I like him. He's very genuine. Going down, we see what we just said right here. It says, in the recent post to ex Mahler, who is currently developing No Rest for the Wicked, wrote, I grew up in the 80s. Even as a young boy back then, I always thought TV shows were low effort trash because every show back then was trying to be as politically correct as possible. Every show was about happy families, always trying to paint a perfect picture, always being careful not to talk about anything that could be in the slightest controversial. That's very true. You would see that, like the perfect families. Like you see some of these commercials on TV where they have like these white families, or well, it's more DEI now, but you got those families look like androids smiling with a perfect picture while they're describing to you all these side effects on some medicine or some craft they made over in the pharmaceutical industry, and it's like, wait, what? Who's falling for this? And they're reading words like 1,000 uh, miles per hour, which I think is absolutely hilarious. So I know what he means by that. And then The Simpsons and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air dropped, and that stuff suddenly felt radical because every now and then the writers on these shows dared to approach subjects that were real. And I think that's good. And whenever they tried that, it resulted in episodes that were memorable. I'd like to think it's because the writers managed to put some of their own experiences in there, he continued. I know what he means, rather than trying to push an agenda and being fake. And not only that, but just coming into a world, into an industry such as the gaming industry, where if you look at it since like the late 80s when Nintendo saved it and made it possible in America and came out Mario selling 40 million copies and all that, um, the way that the industry grew from that moment all the way up until even to like 2014, 15, 16, before these invasions started happening, what type of community was that? It had nothing to do with this woke DEI stuff, trans and the gay pride, like all this nonsense where it's like, what does this have to do with gaming? Get out of here, you know what I mean? And then like understanding where the communities were built, like for example, the entire Dragon Age community, the entire Mass Effect community, the entire Star Wars community, right? What type of audience was built around that, right? We're talking about 99%, 100% of the audience. And then they come in with like this point under 1% mindset and agenda, and they try to enforce it onto that audience without understanding your audience, and then get mad when the audience rejects it and slams it, and gets mad when the audience comes at them in certain ways because it's like you're trying to tear down uh, a franchise and worlds that we've built and supported for years, and we've waited what 4 or 5. Some people have to wait 7, 8 years, almost 10, for certain sequels, and you come in and ruin it like that. And you mean to tell me they don't have a right to get mad? You're not understanding your audience. You don't care to understand the audience. You just want to enforce your agendas down their throat. And you want to come with a weird Baphomet nonsense as well, too. Poisoning the minds of people who are in high school now and middle school growing up on this. It's not good. People don't want it and they're rejecting it, and they don't want mediocre nonsense because that's not what the gaming industry is about. So, yeah, like you said, infantile and immature. And so let's go down here. Then in the late 90s, The Sopranos dropped, and suddenly it was clear that TV shows didn't have to be trash, he stated. That the episodic format could actually be used to give even more insight into characters, their trials and tribulations, etc. And it kept going from that point on. We saw more and more TV shows that delivered excellent drama like The Wire, Breaking Bad, X-Files, loved X-Files. Absolutely amazing. He then turned his attention to Dragon Age, the Veilguard, and video games. Looking at games now, it's clear to see that We're apparently moving back to the Stone Age of political correctness. So another aspect for political correctness is the DEI, diversity inclusive, or equity and inclusive, and the woke agenda. Which, like, if you look at the definitions on paper, it's already a natural part of the creator's creation. But now you're trying to use that label for corrupt means, just like they would try to get the goodness and the origins of religion, or if they got into the realm of science and they wanted to use all these labels for the wrong means. Because if you look at the definition, you're like, okay, I can understand that, but when you see how it's played, then you understand that the individuals underneath the label are the problem. So it's not that there's a problem with religion. It's not that there's a problem with science. It's not that there's a problem with the DEI definition, but there is a problem with the way it's being misrepresented. And when people only see negative coming out of that, it's time to get rid of it and get rid of those individuals because they just cannot do anything right. And you're dealing with evil, you're dealing with corruption, and then you're dealing with mental and emotional retardation, unwillingness to even want to listen, and that's where these labels start to look bad. So the labels didn't do anything, the definition didn't do anything. It's the living individuals that are making terrible decisions, or the evil spirits that are just evil, corrupt individuals that are just making horrible decisions with those labels. And it just won't work, so you got to get rid of it. Okay, so going back down, she said, I just watched a Dragon Age playthrough, and it's quite unfathomable how infantile and terrible the writing is. Everything feels sanitized and dehumanized. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, because the Baphomet spirit is what you expect. I told people, look, if you have somebody that's trans that is behind it, who used to be a man, and then just listen to this, y'all, very carefully, because it's just using your ground. They want you to accept and enforce things upon you, and then when you get mad, they try to stick labels on you without realizing. Did you not realize that originally who you were, you didn't accept yourself? So you're telling me to do something you can't do yourself. And then you want to enforce things upon me and then get mad at me and then try to censor me. Like, do you not see that you're not grown up, you're not mature, and that you're disturbed and you need help? You see? Does that make sense? Because I didn't say anything wrong there. But you know, they would try to silence me just for that if they were able to, right? This is why we need to get rid of this far left corruption. And I just can't wait for things to change and seats of power. But going down, I don't know why suddenly um, we're suddenly thinking that that is okay. Exactly. Your job as a writer is to write about things that are heartfelt, interesting, and true, to draw people into the world that you created. And if this is the best that you can come up with, you shouldn't be a writer in the first place. 100%, guys. I write tons of poetry. I write all the time, and I know what he means. Because it has to be naturally, and it has to be like, from your heart, and there has to be a sense of magic, mystery, wonder, and there has to be light in there. It has to pull people in, and they're just so drawn in, right? You wouldn't have all this right here the way people are feeling about this type of stuff. That's not from the heart. No, it's corruption in the mind. So, very good statement. I hate to sound so harsh. See, to me, that's not harsh. You're just telling the truth. What's harsh is what they're doing to our industry. It's what they're trying to do to the gaming community. It's what they're doing to franchises, and then trying to play the victim. This is not harsh. This is actually good to me. I see this as a refreshment in my mind. So harsh because I'm sure these people had the best intentions in mind, but this is what happens when art is created by amateurs. When we have to walk on eggshells. Yeah, the snowflake stuff, the over feminizing nonsense, the gaming industry and the principle that it's built upon is very masculine. You need to be able to take constructive criticism. You need to be professional. You need to be open to whatever the honest aspect of that is. Not blocking off these reviewers, not censoring these people, not saying I want to control the narrative and I want to make a fake 84 meta. And then you get slammed all over the place because you didn't put yourself in a position to receive honest, constructive, professional criticism. So therefore, you can't grow. You are hindering your growth by doing that. You see, they want to have this fake, positive, toxic, sensitive, feminine approach and reception only. And that's not a way to grow because, like I said, and as a masculine principle, in the gaming industry where it's built upon, you need to be able to have constructive feedback from your community and from the people that you're working with so that you can know how to improve because you're not God, you're not perfect. So how are you going to do that if you're doing the crap that they're doing over here? It's not going to work. That's why I say it can't work. And that's why you have a mediocre product with all this corruption in it. Always approach writing from a human angle first. draw from your own experiences, and dare to approach subjects that might seem risky. You got to do that. You got to have faith in that. Because often magic happens when we're okay with making ourselves vulnerable. Yeah, you kind of have to. That's, you know, I love that's what you do. Yeah, you gotta be vulnerable. So he says that's where he said that statement right there, and he just posted all that right there. I like Thomas Waller. He's awesome. I've seen him make other statements too, and basically what I said earlier about the DEI definition, like he said, there's something wrong with the definition because it's natural and it's a part of thing. It's part of life naturally already. Just leave everything alone and see how things naturally come out. But when you're trying to take it and enforce it and use it for a corporate agenda, yeah, that's when it becomes a problem. Same thing for religion, same thing for science. People making meth labs, bombs, corrupting people, pharmaceutical industries that, genetically modified stuff to mess up people's organisms and give them all these diseases. Like, see what you're doing? It's not that those aspects in themselves are a problem, but it's what people are doing with them. So Mahler is not the only one to criticize the game's dialogue. Going down here, we see Sayal right here. That's how I say his name. If not, I apologize. If woke grifters gaslight, implying gamers are sexist, racist, or transphobes, see, none of that. No, it's just that what you're doing is wrong in general. This Dragon Age Veilguard cringe compilation indicates the real issue. One word, activists. Queer valid or not, we could always define woke. They can't define escape entertainment. This is garbage. Exactly. It's what it is. It's bad acting. It's bad writing. It's people that are unqualified, that are in positions trying to push an agenda and make profit and hope that you would have been brainwashed and accepted it. Quite clear. And then Asmongold, said what he said about it too. He thought it sucked. It wasn't bad, so it wasn't terrible, but it's just kind of is not really that good. That's what he said. But all in all, this is to cover what he said. I like what he says. I like when people are in the professional industry. They're supposed to be professional, but there's a lot of people that are not professional and not qualified. They're unqualified. But I like when individuals like him who are professional and qualified can come out and call them out and realize his position that he's going to be okay. And we're getting around into times where when we get back more to that Republic mind state and we allow people to just express their freedom, right? Because that means whatever comes out, light or dark, and we have to face that reality and learn how to deal with it, right? When we get back to those times, the censorship stuff gets out the way. People are able to accept professional criticism and then learn and grow and do the right things and do everything the right way from the beginning. And if you make mistakes, fine tune it and tweak it. But all this stuff is just where issues are at in the gaming industry where they just don't belong whatsoever, and it's creating problems where there shouldn't be problems. And now we can't focus on gaming problems, gaming development problems, community feedback problems, or just stuff that we know we can work together to make things better. But yeah, like, subscribe, let me know what y'all think. All right, y'all, peace out. Glad to cover this, and once again, good job, Mala, for doing that. You're awesome for that. Points. Peace.